when I turn on the news, I open my laptop and I go on social media. It's everywhere. And every time I see that picture of that father and son, but for the grace of God, it could have been a picture of us. The very screen you're looking at right now could have been in every one of those news articles. So it's haunting. It started about a year ago. I was introduced to Stockton and the concept of going to visit the Titanic. Um, it sounded very appealing. I mean, he told me that less than 200 people have been down to the dive site. More people have been in space than down to the Titanic, and it sounded like an amazing bucket list item. And my son, when he was much younger, was a big fan of the Titanic. He knew all the statistics and studied it, and got books, and so he was um, just fascinated by the whole story. So I told Stockton that I was interested in doing this, and over the course of the year, we had lots of opportunity to speak to each other by phone, text, WhatsApp, email, in person a few times. And I talked to my son about it. At first, he was excited. He and his friend started to kick around all the things that could go wrong. And he raised a lot of concerns and did some research. And then I started to do some Google searches and saw some things that were concerning. And I brought it to Stockton's attention. And Stockton was fairly dismissive about it. He thought it was, he was doing the latest and greatest, and he was using off-the-shelf components because they're already tested, battle tested. And, I was concerned, and as my son was, that he was using basically consumer-grade parts for a commercial purpose, and he was doing it in one of the most hostile environments on the planet. And I told him due to scheduling conflicts, we wouldn't be able to make it this year, but let's continue to talk about next season, and we'll try and make it next summer. And he sold our seats to that that Pakistani businessman and his son,
Yep.
who's about the same age as my son.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And the rest will go down in history.
I was obsessed with the Titanic when I was a little kid. I did extensive research on it. I wrote papers on it. I did a bunch of stuff for school on it when I was a little kid. I was definitely obsessed with it. So when this opportunity came across, I always wanted to meet Robert Ballard, the guy that discovered the Titanic and all that. And he actually met him a long time ago, and I always wanted to see the Titanic for myself. So the day that when he started talking to Stockton and he told me and my friend about it, obviously I was super interested in the beginning, but then I started doing a little bit of research. I asked him if he could ask Stockton to address some of my safety concerns, and Stockton called me and my friend the misinformed. He said we were misinformed, and I thought he could have been right, but it's not worth our lives taking that risk to go see it. This isn't like a James Cameron operation where we're coming down there with big submarines and a ton of equipment and a lot of funding. Like, this is Stockton's little submarine with 5 people on it going to the bottom of the ocean. Like, it just didn't make sense. And one of the concerns actually we talked about was the submarine imploding. And because we were talking about the pressure, we're like, there's no way this thing can get to the bottom of the ocean without imploding at least halfway down. And then when this story came out, that was our first theory. We're like, they imploded. He started doing research and he agreed, and then we ultimately ended up pulling out at the last minute. And then our 2 seats went to this other father and son, and that's kind of the craziest part of this whole story, like the similarities between us and them. And it's kind of jarring thinking about how that literally we're one move away from that being us. And then the kid was telling his dad the same thing. The kid was like, this is not a good idea, but he felt bad, because his dad obviously really wanted to do it. He wanted to really do it too, but it wasn't to the point where he was going to completely ignore me and force me to go. And like, no, we both came to a logical conclusion that this is definitely not a safe operation, and Stockton is reaching a little too far on this one. And I think the kid tried to warn his dad too, and he was obviously nervous about going. I saw that, and then unfortunately they went, and then this happened.